okay, I want to put together my fitness approach to the world. People wanted to look like movie stars. How do you look like a movie star without living in the gym and eating out of Tupperware? And so I realized like the void in the market was that
fitness YouTuber, Keno Body, a guy called Greg O'Gallagher.
Greg O'Gallagher. Let's see, let's Google him. Oh, yeah. This dude looks like he could bench press my entire apartment.
Hey, if you want to look really, really good, we got to get you strong. We got to increase your incline bench, your weighted pull-ups. We got to build up your strength. If you get stronger, you're going to build that muscle density.
People would look at me or you and just assume, oh, well, to be able to achieve that, it means I have to go to the gym every day. I probably have to spend 2 hours in the gym and life is just going to suck.
Right.
Which in reality, that's not the truth.
No, my brand and my philosophy, looking like a movie star, training 3 days a week, not having to like suffer, being able to eat like a king and being strong.
What have you learned the most from starting a supplement company? Now, before we jump into today's episode, I just want to mention that this podcast is brought to you by me and everything that I have built to help you guys level up. If you want to transform your physique, build muscle, lose body fat, build strength, then you have the Thirst app. This has everything inside that you could possibly need to get yourself in shape, to hold yourself accountable as well. I also have the digital playbook, which is a step-by-step guide to help you guys build a following, monetize the following, and also build a strong personal brand. This is everything which I have done over the past nearly 10 years to allow myself to live a life of financial freedom and also geographical freedom. I can basically do whatever I want. Life is good. And I also have my newsletter, which has been revamped, where I'll share exclusive podcast insights, my raw thoughts on business, fitness, and much, much more. So if you're interested about any of those, check out the description. You'll find the links to all of them. So let's get cracking with the episode. What is up, guys, and welcome back to First Things First. We are in Miami, and we're with the one and only Greg O'Gallagher, a.k.a. Keno Body. How you doing?
Dude, I'm doing great, man. Good to see you again.
You too. Yeah, last time we saw each other was randomly in Barcelona, wasn't it?
Yeah, Barcelona with a little network group there. That was sweet.
Yeah. You're traveling quite a lot all the time.
A lot. You know, Miami's my main base. And then in the summer, I'll do a little Europe, little Spain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got a good taste.
You actually said in one of your videos, I think you said you see yourself moving to Spain or doing like half the year?
Yes. The problem with Spain is every time I go there, like the Spanish mindset is too chill.
It's way too
They're
chill.
like, hey, mañana, and they're all just like having their siestas in the afternoon. And every time I go there, like the quality of life definitely goes up.
For sure.
But productivity
goes down. The number one thing I heard in Spain is like, imposible.
Yeah.
It cannot be done. Impossible. Yeah. You know, you book a yacht and then it's at 2 p.m., but then they need an extra hour and a half. Like everything is just, they're on their own schedule.
Yeah. And everybody is taking the day off on Sunday. And even in the afternoons, people just like to close for a couple hours. So
yeah,
that's a little bit frustrating. But maybe later on, like when I've done the things which I've needed to do, raising a family, maybe I'll get like a home out there, I think.
For sure. Yeah. The Dubai plus Europe is like an epic combo.
Yeah. Why do you like Miami so much?
It's amazing for my business, like this amazing networking. I love the weather, the beach, great restaurants. And I actually first came to Miami when Canada was in this nonstop 2-year lockdown. Everything was shut down, restaurants, and like Miami was wide open. So I came to Miami in 2021 and it was like paradise.
Yeah.
You couldn't go out to a dinner, go to the gym. You could barely leave your house in Canada. And then I came to Miami and everyone was having dinner. I was like posting on my story. People were like, holy shit. Like so I have a soft spot to Miami because like during the lockdown, it was just wide open. And then there's so much money coming to Miami. So, you know, a lot of people are kind of migrating. So I like it as a base, and LA is so far on the West Coast. So I kind of like the Miami is well run.
Yeah. Have you still got like your home and your headquarters in Canada?
I have a little bit of headquarters in Canada, but like honestly, I'm pretty much only in Canada a couple months a year now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I bet it's really damn cold in the winter.
Oh my God, dude. It is freezing. Like it is, I love getting my steps in. I do a ton of steps every day. And like in Canada, it's like January, February, there's not enough clothes you can put on where you're good. Like it is that cold and it gets dark super early. You don't want to leave your house in Canada. Yeah. When I was in just before I moved to Miami, I was in Canada for like a month, 2 months. And I was like, what do I do here? Like it's freezing. I was playing Call of Duty at night for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not, Canada is very, very, very cold.
So how did you get into the fitness and everything? I'm curious to know a little bit about your background.
Yeah. It's probably a similar story to you, but like when I was a kid, I wanted to be big and strong.
Mhm.
I wanted to work out. I had action figures. I'd watch the Van Damme movies, and I was just so enthralled with strength and muscle and fitness. So I was doing like push-ups as a 6-year-old, and my father got a weight set when I was like, I think I might have been 12 years old. He got a weight set, and I couldn't wait to like curl this weight, and I'd curl a dumbbell. And when you're 11, you don't really know what the pump is. Like when you're 10, 11, you don't know what a pump is. And so I'd curl it, and I swear to God, my arms got bigger.
Yeah.
And so I was just hooked. So it was like a seed was planted so young. And then at 13, I started to actually like follow like a workout program. I'd follow like a workout program that I read online in a book. And it was just kind of in my blood to train.
Mm. Was it like an old school bodybuilding program?
You know what? I was kind of into a little bit of martial arts. So I'd kind of I'd do these programs that were kind of geared towards like martial artists and fighters. I'd be doing more body weight training and some interval training when I was like an early teenager. And then I kind of got more into like, bodybuilding and strength training and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You must have started at like 14?
No, for me, I think I was 16.
Okay, nice.
Because I was playing so much sport.
Right.
There just wasn't, first of all, it wasn't time, and I didn't have the energy to actually go lift weights.
Yeah.
Because I was practicing rugby every single day. And then on Saturday and Sunday, I would play the games. So Saturday I would play for my school, Sunday I would play for the club. So I was either like recovering or I just didn't have the energy to go to the gym in the first place. So I remember always I had the pace, I had speed, and I was always shredded, but I didn't have the size.
Oh, wow.
And I was like a late developer because my birthday's in August, so I was the youngest of the year.
That makes a huge difference.
Yeah. So at one point I was like one of the best on the pitch, and then as everybody started growing, I wasn't growing. So that was a disadvantage. So I was getting knocked about all over the place, and then rugby sucked for a couple of years.
You know what? That happened to me with hockey. I remember being like one of the top kids on my hockey team, and then one year everyone had a growth spurt and I didn't.
Yeah.
Everyone hit puberty and I like it didn't hit yet, and these guys were like 6 inches bigger than me, and then I went from like just being the best to being middle of the pack, which kind of sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of fell in love with working out and martial arts.
Was it ice hockey? Or
I was ice hockey. Yeah, I was playing competitive ice hockey in Canada. But it was like I started young. I was playing hockey at 6, and then by like 12, 13, I stopped playing.
Yeah. Okay. And then how did you kind of figure out what sort of approach in the gym was working best for you? Because I know you had the Keno approach or something like that?
Yeah, the Keno approach I started to like put together when I was like 19, 20, 21. I tested a lot. So when I was 13, 14, I did some, weight training, had a family friend that taught me some bodybuilding. Then when I did martial arts, I got really into body weight training. So I was doing like, working up to doing one-arm push-ups, doing lots of chin-ups, weighted chin-ups. And so I got strong on body weight training. I think when I was 16, we had a family summer house, and I set up a pull-up bar between 2 trees. I'd get like a backpack. I'd get like bags of sand. I'd be doing weighted chin-ups in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point I got up to doing, which was insanely hard, a one-arm chin-up. So I was like pretty advanced as a teenager. And then I started to like get into like a little bit of bodybuilding. I do some bodybuilding, and I ran a lot of different programs. I did starting strength, which when I was like 16, that was like one of the programs that everyone was doing, starting strength. We do squat, bench, dead 3 days a week. I did that. And funny enough, like I got a lot stronger on my squats, but my bench didn't get much stronger. My physique didn't get much better. And then I just tried many different programs. I was very drawn to athleticism as a teenager. So I'd find myself doing kind of workouts designed for like football guys. I was following a guy named Joe DeFranco. I was following this coach that trained, boxers and mixed martial artists on strength and conditioning, Ross Animate. And then when I turned 19, I kind of was like, okay, I want to put together my fitness approach to the world. And what is not out there that I want to create? And so I realized like the void in the market was that people wanted to look like movie stars.
Mm-hmm.
How do you look like a movie star without living in the gym and eating out of Tupperware? And so my brand and my philosophy was focused on looking like a movie star, training 3 days a week, and then also not having to like suffer, right? Being able to eat like a king and being strong. And so that's kind of when I really focused on that angle. And I started playing around with intermittent fasting, helped me lean down. That became a huge part of my program. And for me, it was getting very clear on, hey, if you want to look really, really good, we got to get you strong. We got to get you strong. We got to increase your incline bench, your weighted pull-ups. We got to build up your strength. If you get stronger, you're going to build that muscle density.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it's funny because still to this day, people would look at me or you and just assume, oh, well, to be able to achieve that, it means I have to go to the gym every day. I probably have to spend 2 hours in the gym and I'm not allowed to eat the things that I want to eat and life is just going to suck.
Right.
Which in reality, that's not the truth.
No. How often do you work out? You do like 4 or 5? Or?
Now, like, I've been speaking to people about this, and I reckon to maintain where I'm at now,
Yeah.
I could probably get away with training 3 to 4 times a week.
Yeah.
Because I've done the hard work where I've built myself up. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably the hardest because you have to be in some sort of a calorie surplus for a very long period of time. Where we're talking about years, not massive surplus, but just like there needs to be enough food coming in to obviously add some mass.
And you're like 210?
Yeah, so 94 kilograms or whatever.
Yeah,
that is.
94. Yeah, I think that's about 210.
Yeah, so that's the point where I like to basically stay at. But now, just from the experience which I've gathered over the past 17, 18 years of training, it's like I know how hard to push myself. I know which exercises are going to be best for me to focus on a specific muscle group. And I know how to recover outside of the gym, what to eat, that it's actually not that hard. I think the biggest things that set you back, but for me in particular, is the alcohol, number one. Unfortunately, like alcohol is like one of the biggest things which will disrupt my sleep, my training session the next day, and also just body composition. I can be shredded on alcohol, but I will lose size.
Yeah, I used to be able to drink and I was fine. I would hit PRs, I would get stuff done. I would drink, but I would still sleep a lot. But since I hit 30, I cannot drink anymore. Yeah. I cannot, like, I can have two, maybe 3, and then it's like, hey, this workout's not happening.
Yeah, it's a shame because I like to be drunk and let loose, but like there's too much. It's too much going on, like for us to just feel sorry for ourselves in bed.
Yeah, no, but when I was 28, 27, I could go and drink 6 margaritas one night, wake up, have some coffee, hit a workout and hit PRs. It was nuts.
Yeah.
The body after 30 doesn't process alcohol the same way.
No.
It's much harder.
I noticed you don't have any tracking devices on you. So no Ring, no Whoop.
I have an Oura Ring at my apartment. I just put it on when I go to sleep. And so I do a little bit of the tracking. Okay. And then I just for how many calories I'm burning each day, I can eyeball it. I can just estimate really, really well.
Mm-hmm. What about for those people who have never really done it before? Because it's probably safe to say that they are not going to be very good at eyeballing or even understanding what is, like they look at a plate of food, they won't know the protein, carbs, fats, or total calories.
Yeah, so I like to have a framework for myself and my clients. So if someone is not very good at eyeballing, then you want to track the calories in the beginning. So if you're, I do 2 meals a day and a little snack, maybe a little extra fruit, but you want to calculate your calories at first. And then once you've estimated it, my advice that doesn't fail is just eat the same thing every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much easier to get lean. If you find a meal you love, you like having steak, potatoes, and broccoli, just keep your diet as simple and streamlined as possible. The more you try and change things up, and I'm going to have pasta this night, and this night I'm going to have this, it just makes it more complex. So every single time I've gotten hyper lean, I ate the same thing. I maybe rotated a couple different meals and just got chiseled. And so if you eat the same thing every day, you don't have to really use a calorie tracker. Yeah. I actually did track my calories for 3 years straight. I used an app to track my calories, and it became almost like a crutch. And I just preferred to just not think, it gets to the point where you're like, these potatoes are 400 grams or 420 grams, and I need to do 400. So I'm going to slice off a little bit of a potato. It gets too neurotic.
Yeah.
And if you eyeball it, you can just get close enough, and it works really well.
Yeah, I think if especially if somebody is struggling, like if they come to me and they're like, Mike, no matter what I do, I can't lose this extra bit of body fat. First thing I'd say is, well, okay, tell me your numbers. And they're like, oh, well, I don't track. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
okay, well, at least put in a bit of effort it doesn't have to be forever, but just a couple of weeks so that you, first of all, understand it a little bit more and you're more than likely going to adhere to some sort of plan. But I do the same thing as you. When I'm in Dubai, which is where I spend the majority of my time, I will have my favorite meals, which I just have on rotation.
Smart.
I mix it up a little bit, obviously, to add a bit of variety, but there's probably like 5 to 10 of my favorite dishes, which I'll just get delivered to me.
Awesome.
And then I have this like spreadsheet, which I made for myself. So I put the numbers in each meal.
Yeah.
And then as the day goes down, I do a drop down menu, just tap them all, and then I can see the totals for each day. So I'm not like trying to hit an exact number, but it's just it's more so for me hitting the protein,
right?
Because you don't accidentally hit like 200 grams of protein. It's like I've got to make sure that I'm probably eating at least like 4 meals in order to do that,
right? Yeah.
So I'm wondering how you do it with 2.
So I don't go crazy high in protein. I do about 150 grams of protein per day. And so my first meal, usually I'll have a big serving of Greek yogurt. I'll put in my collagen protein. I'll mix that up. That's like 50 grams. Plus I'll have sliced banana, an extra snack. And so that's usually 50 grams. And then for dinner, I'll do a pound, like 16 ounces. So 450 grams of steak and some potatoes and veggies. And so the big feast for me is like 100 grams. And my first meal is like usually 40, 50. So I've played around with different protein levels, and I like more of that moderate protein, like 0.82 grams per pound, or that might be I don't know the kilo conversion. So I don't go crazy high. I do like moderate protein.
Yeah, I think there's been more studies coming out that the need for such a high amount of protein is unnecessary.
Yeah. The research I've seen is pretty much like a gram per pound of body weight, was usually the standard. Some people would go a lot higher, but 0.82 grams, you're pretty much getting, everything you need. If you want to go a bit higher, you can. But when you're keeping your calories low, the challenge is, if you go too high in protein, then you got to cut your carbs and fats down. And I definitely find that when I cut my carbs and fats, I feel it. So I like to go more balanced for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how did you come onto the scene back in the day on social media? Because I remember the first few videos that I would see of you was like these kind of dramatic edits of you in the big house, like you're
the movie trailer style ones. Yeah. So I was like doing blogging. I was blogging workout articles when I was 19. And then I started to put some videos on YouTube teaching, ab workout, intermittent fasting. I'd be teaching different things. I'd almost be documenting what I was doing and my results. And then around 22, 23, I got a good rhythm on YouTube. I was just doing lots of teaching, fasting, reverse pyramid training, and then I was building this audience. And I remember when I was 24, I had thousands of people doing my Greek God, my Warrior Shred program. It was really building, and I was getting all these new sort of eyeballs. And I wanted to create a video where if someone just saw this one video, this 3-minute video, they understood my approach to fitness, which was very against the grain. And so I put together a script going through like a monologue of the way I train. I train 3 days a week for amazing recovery. I fast every day. This increases fat mobilization. And I would go through sort of my routine. And, I always do the heaviest set first. And I put together this monologue, and I went like a little bit, like I leaned into it with the mansion and Lamborghini. And that was 2015, and it just hit. It hit the algo, and it hit millions of views. And then my sales skyrocketed, like the business just skyrocketed. And we actually had a guy on my team. And I told him, run this video as an ad on YouTube. And we ran it as an ad on YouTube. And at the time, like advertising on YouTube was
nobody was doing that.
Yeah, it was just me and Ty Lopez.
Yeah.
And because I saw Ty with these ads, I'm like, I should probably try this. And just running that one ad, no like targeting, just running it to everyone, got a really strong return. And it was just there was one point where like, you know, you're just getting hit with the Bruce Wayne ad.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who you are. Like if you're 70 years old or 10 years old, you're getting the Bruce Wayne ad.
I think you always seem to be quite naturally good at marketing yourself.
Yeah.
Where's that come from?
It's you know, I was always very passionate about movies. I have a very infectious personality. If I like something, I want to share it. Like I have 3 brothers, and so when I was getting into like working out, I would like want to work out with my brothers. I want to share. If I'm liking something, I want to share something. And then for me, marketing has always just been doing exactly what would work on myself. What would get me to be excited about something? And so I almost just focus on just marketing to myself, and then things just kind of fall into place.
Do your brothers also like to work out? I don't think I've seen them before.
No, they're pretty low key, but yes. So my oldest brother he works out. He's not like crazy consistent, but you know, he works out. My middle brother, who's younger than me, Bryden, he's really into the health and fitness, and he's in biotech, and he's pretty serious about training. And then my youngest brother was sort of kind of on and off. I think when he used to be a bit more overweight, and then when he was like 16, he asked me, he's like, hey, I want to get fit, you know, which was like, it was very adorable. You know, my younger brother was like wanting to get in shape, and it takes some vulnerability to ask for help, especially from a brother, you know? So, I got him fasting. I told him exactly what to do. And the thing is like the best coaching, especially if someone's younger, is tell them as little as possible to get a result.
Yeah.
So I would literally just tell him, okay, just fast till lunch, eat this for lunch, have whatever the homemade cooking is for dinner, and then you can have one ice cream bar as a dessert. So because he liked treats, and so he did that. He lost a pound every week. He was going from 0 chin-ups to 1 to 12 chin-ups. But then he kind of was falling off, and now he's great. Now he's getting like really in shape. And the cool thing I've noticed is that there's people that have genetics, which would probably be like me and you, or when we start training, we see results really fast. Like we gain strength, the muscle comes on. There's some people where it's a slower start, but then after a couple years of consistency, their physique really starts to pop. So don't I have like advice for a lot of people. It's like, don't be discouraged if the results don't come super fast. Sometimes it's just like it takes a little bit more time for someone else. But now my younger brother's like pretty damn jacked.
Yeah. I remember there'd be a lot of people who come up to me and they would not be in great shape.
Yeah.
I'd be like, right, okay, this is going to take some time. Like you can't just transform yourself in like 6 to 12 weeks. Like this is probably going to take like a year or 2 years. And that can be quite daunting for some of them because most people, they just want fast results.
Right.
But if they've got themselves into a situation where the starting body composition is pretty terrible, it's more of a daunting task to think about the journey ahead. And that's why it's important to enjoy it as much as you possibly can do. Yeah,
you gotta love the process. And I mean, even when I was like, I started lifting at 13. When I was, 18, 19, I actually was more chest dominant, crazy enough. My shoulders were never really popped. And then, over a long enough time frame, you keep putting the stimulus, your body will start to like transform. So it's patience, is really, really powerful. And so there's a whole, thing where even like as a natural, your genetic peak, some people can hit their genetic peak faster. Someone else, it could take them 15 years to get to their genetic peak. I'm not much different than when I was, 24, 27. But some people, it takes them shorter, faster.
Yeah. And you've stayed natural. You've not been tempted to go down the...
Never. I've never been tempted. When I was 18, I hit like a 300-pound bench. I was 180 pounds. And at 19, I just didn't care about getting bigger, I had the size I wanted. It was always about being lean, being chiseled. So my goal the whole time was almost being like 170, 175 and very, very lean. I didn't want to get like that massive look.
Yeah. And I think one of the main reasons why some guys want to get that massive look is because they think it's going to help them get the chicks.
Yeah.
But realistically, chicks don't really care about you being massive.
No.
As long as you got some sort of a resemblance of an athletic physique, like that's enough. Then you can start working on other areas of your life.
Yeah, you don't need to be as big as a lot of people think. So, doing the gear and going on anabolics doesn't really help that much, you know. And a lot of guys get like brutal side effects of losing hair, getting acne, getting pimples. It can completely downregulate fertility. Where, you know, I've seen people that have done a lot of anabolics and they can't. They're infertile.
Yeah,
They can't have kids, and so that's like opposite of what most people would want.
I think it's a lot more accepted now, particularly on social media. The thing that concerns me is just the age at which some of these guys are hopping on stuff.
Right.
Like they're in their late teens, early 20s and just frustrated they're not as big as the guys who are in their 30s, and they're literally willing to do anything, sacrifice their lifespan in order to just, you know, pack on the pounds.
Yeah, it's that's like a very, I mean, there are people that do it when they're 16. I think it's I think there's people like in high school that are going and getting it, and it's just like it's not good to mess with your body at that point.
Yeah. You've done a lot of research into optimizing your test levels.
Yeah.
What are some of the things which people can do?
Yeah. So, I mean, the craziest thing right now is that testosterone levels have dropped a ton. So, you know, parents' generation in the 70s and 80s, the average man had 700 testosterone nanograms per deciliter. And so now the average is 400 to 500 for, you know, a 25, 35-year-old. So it's dropped about 40%. So the number one thing for having higher testosterone is sleep. 70% of your testosterone is produced during sleep. And that's usually the deep sleep stage, which happens earlier in the night. And so having the sleep dialed where you're falling, you know, you're getting into a deep sleep, the room's cold, blackout, getting your 8 hours is going to be like the biggest foundational step. Second one is really body fat. So every inch your waist is bigger, your testosterone levels go down. So the bigger your waist is, the lower testosterone that you have. When you have excess body fat, you know, we hear about all these microplastics, all these hormone disruptors, they actively get stored in fat tissue. And when you have more body fat, you increase the conversion of testosterone to estrogen. So being lean and getting good sleep is really two of the most important. Lifting weights, getting steps, getting outside, getting sunlight, managing, you know, your cortisol. I mean, you can do blood work and you see your cortisol levels. So if your cortisol levels are too high, testosterone levels will dip. If you have too much inflammation, testosterone levels will dip. To actually have very high, healthy testosterone levels, you got to be pretty healthy. It's hard to have health issues and things going on and high stress and inflammation while producing a good amount of testosterone. So you just need to be healthy and you want to eat balanced. So, I mean, you see a lot of people that go super low fat. We know that's not great for testosterone. Going super keto can raise your sex hormone binding globulin, which can bind to your testosterone so you have less free. So kind of like what I tell people is kind of like grandma's cooking, like just a balance of veggies and lean meat and potatoes. That kind of diet is going to be most conducive for testosterone. And then as far as the training is heavy lifting, weights are great. Too much exercise though can actually lower testosterone. So, I mean, I had a period where I was training a lot and I was lifting weights all the time. I was doing lots of cardio and I never felt my peak. So when you train a little bit less, you take a couple more rest days, you do, you know, maybe 3 days heavy weights, you get a better increase in testosterone. And then really, as far as supplementation can be very, very powerful. There's 3 minerals that are really vital in testosterone production. Zinc and magnesium are really important. And for athletes, you're training, you're sweating. Even if you were to have sex, you're depleting these minerals. So zinc and magnesium are really important. And a lot of, I think 40% of the population just isn't getting, I think 70% of the population isn't getting enough magnesium. And like a big chunk of them are just downright deficient. So zinc, magnesium, boron actually is really powerful because even if someone has 600 total testosterone, which is actually pretty good. People's free testosterone has also been dropping, right? So you might have healthy testosterone, but because of all the hormone disruptors, all the stress on your liver from different microplastics, from alcohol. If you drink alcohol, you put stress on your liver, and then your sex hormone binding globulin raises up, and that binds and locks up your testosterone. So even if you have pretty good total, boron's very good at lowering sex hormone binding globulin. It also is anti-estrogenic. And then those are like the three kind of go-to. And then if someone wants to go even further, Tongata is really powerful at increasing testosterone. It can increase testosterone by 100 points, just Tongata. And then Forskolai is another good herb for increasing testosterone.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned about the training, because I have my my fitness app, and the maximum number of days that I recommend people doing is 5.
Yeah.
Like 5 is the peak amount you can do for any split that you choose.
Yeah, 7 is crazy.
And I have so many people say, well, where's the 6-day split? Where's the 7-day split? And I'm like, look, if you have the energy to do that, then you're probably not going to be training hard enough during your sessions.
Right.
The only way you could maybe get away with doing that is if you were to pull back on the volume that you're doing daily.
Right.
So let's say, for example, if your sessions were only 30 minutes to 45 minutes and you capped it at a certain number of sets, then maybe you can get away with training more frequently, which if that works for you, that's fine. Because I'm the type of person that I like to train every day.
And when you go, you like to go hard, probably. Yeah.
So I don't know when I started to figure this out. I think it might have even been in my early 30s, because I used to be a personal trainer. I was literally working inside of a gym.
Yeah.
When you're there, like...
So easy to get a workout.
It's like, I've got 2 hours spare. Let me just go and shift some weights. Or even if you're going to have a rest day, you got your friends saying, oh, come on, join in on the session. And I remember just being wiped out all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And my strength actually started to go down. And even like physically, I wasn't looking my best. You know, when you just look depleted, usually that was just because I'd been pushing myself too hard.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And even if you like love going to the gym, I love going to the gym, by like forcing yourself to just rest, you appreciate the gym more.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
Taking those couple rest days, then you're like, you feel completely recovered. I mean, I used to train a lot more, and then around 20, I experimented training. Do you want to workout? Rest day. Workout, rest day. I would train essentially 3 days a week, but I always have a rest day in between workouts. And I just hit PRs. My body really responded to that. I was stuck on all my lifts, and then just the extra rest days, I would come into the gym and I'd feel so strong. And so I've always been kind of doing that sort of that schedule. And sometimes what I'll do is, after a few months of hard training, I'll take 4 to 5 days pure rest, no weights, like 4 to 5 days pure rest. And the day I go to train, I look better. Like my body has utilized those days of rest, and I come to the gym and I feel powerful. Like it's I'll do that probably about 4 times a year. Every 3 months, I can just feel it. I'll take 4 or 5 days of rest, and I'm like, damn, like I feel like great.
Yeah. It's kind of like I guess you'd class that as a deload, maybe.
Yeah. It's I guess that could be like a, I never really enjoyed like the traditional deloads of having to like lift submaximal weights and stuff. So
it's hard to do that.
It's hard to do that. I'm like, what am I doing? So I just like to take like 4 or 5 days of pure rest. And sometimes I do it on accident. Sometimes, you know, I'm traveling and then, you know, I miss a workout, and then I'm just like, you know what? Let me just take a couple more days rest and then just hit it hard. Sometimes it happens just a little bit organically. But 3-4 times a year, I find it actually it's a good, for the person that's training all the time, it's a good experiment. Try taking 4 days in a row off, come back, and you might actually be very surprised. I mean, there was a bodybuilder called Tom Platz who had the massive, he had the massive legs, and he would train with Arnold. And Tom Platz, you know, he was a bodybuilder. He was on anabolics, and he would train with Arnold, and he didn't get stronger. He didn't grow with Arnold. Arnold would do these 2 to 4 hour workouts a day, And he said he took 2 weeks off the gym, just 2 weeks off the gym. He was so discouraged. He hadn't made any gains. He's like, screw this. He just turned his mind off of bodybuilding for 2 weeks, came back to the gym, and he was stronger on everything. And then he started to experiment with more rest days.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not even just naturals. There's people that are on anabolics that have found that having the couple more rest days is crucial. I mean, Mike Metzer was a huge proponent of that. Dorian Yates was very big on like
he did like 4 sessions a week, 45 minutes. That was it.
Yeah, it was crazy, you know.
Yeah.
And he was lifting like monstrous loads. I mean, you know, those guys with all those anabolics and building that much size and lifting that much weight, like it's not good for longevity.
Yeah,
you
or
know,
the joints
and Ronnie Coleman just. You know, you got to be careful at a certain point with like, I don't even do any heavy squats and deadlifts.
No. The biggest thing for me is how can I continue to do this for as long as possible?
Right.
Like the thought of not being able to do this because of some injury which I've given myself is scary. So I don't know what else I'll do.
And I was messing around with heavy squats and deadlifts as a teenager, and I had some. It's risky, right? So yeah, I haven't seen very good case studies. Like if you're a serious lifter, it's easy to get up to doing a 350, 400 pound squat. You can, if you're serious about lifting, like I've gotten up to doing 350 pound bench press for 3 reps. So if I was to get serious about squatting, I could do at least, 425 for some reps. I haven't seen a good case study of people in their 40s, lifting really heavy on squats and deadlifts. They're in pain. They're driving their car for 2 hours and their back hurts. They're sitting down. There's a lot of spinal compression that's happening. And I have had some low back injuries as a teenager, and they're dormant. But like when I start pushing those squats, deadlifts, they come back. But you've built like tremendous legs. What are your go-to?
For me, it was frequency. So I've noticed
twice a week on legs.
Yeah, my body doesn't like to have big legs.
Okay.
Like it's inefficient.
Right.
So I feel like in order to get them to the size that I'm happy with, pretty much whenever they're recovered, it's time to train again.
Right.
So it works out to be maybe every 5 days.
Nice.
And then the big game changer for me was there's the whole concept of tension. So I would do a lot of compound exercises, but it was like, let's just move the weight from point A to B, not thinking about how I was going to do it. So it was optimizing either exercise selection or just thinking about controlling one specific muscle. So that was doing the majority of the work. And when I stopped doing the barbell squats and a lot of the free weight stuff, when I was using the assistance of machines, particularly pendulum squats, hack squats, that really allowed me to build up the quads, and then doing a lot of movements which I would shy away from. So like hip thrusts.
Right.
Or like a Romanian deadlifts. I was like, I don't really want to do these. And I realized that like that hip hinge movement was the thing which I needed.
Yeah, I noticed that too. When a lot of people do squats, they say they feel in their quads. Whenever I did squats, and I was at one point I was doing 315 for reps, and I never felt sore in the quads from squats. It was always the hamstrings and the butt,
like inner thigh as well.
Yeah, when I learned to do squats very young, I was very on the heels. I'd sit back, I'd activate my posterior chain, and so I never found the quads grew from squats. But yeah, all those machine movements are much better at hitting the quads for sure.
And of course, like just wearing short shorts all the time, that helps.
Yeah,
like that's I'm wearing a pair of Thirst shorts right now. Of course,
that's actually
right there.
That's actually the perfect cut. Like if I wear swims, I have to get swimsuits that are like right here.
Yeah.
If I wear swim trunks down to here, it's just the legs look tiny. But if you can, because I have pretty good, I have much better size here than down here. So it's like like those style shorts make the legs pop, and then it motivates you to train the legs.
That's why I the moment that I moved from the UK to a warmer place when I was in Dubai, it's like, okay, every day I'm probably going to be topless at some point,
right,
whether I'm by the pool or by the beach. So there's that added motivation to just say no to eating too much or eating that dessert, because being leaner and walking around with abs
Right.
Beats everything else.
Have you ever done a DEXA scan?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did one in London in 2000 and it was 18 or 19.
Yeah.
Now, when I did that I was probably not at my leanest.
Right.
So that came out, I think, 17, it was between 15 and 17% body fat.
Yeah, you know what? Sometimes I've seen DEXA scans completely overshoot people.
Yeah.
Because, you know.
But I was not as lean as
Yeah.
I am now.
But okay.
But that I did a video
Yeah.
because I was curious to know the amount of people that would ask me about what is your body fat percentage. I was like, I don't know the exact number.
Right.
Like that, first of all. Second of all, why are you so obsessed?
Right.
Like, why do people think that like having this one perfect number is the thing to shoot for?
Right.
It's more complicated than, you know, just saying someone is a particular percentage. It depends on where the body fat is distributed, or is it going to be like around the organs, or is it going to be more, you know, nearer the skin?
Right. Like people, like when I do DEXA scans, I'm actually usually impressed. I'm like, oh, that's actually lower than I thought based on my abs, because my legs don't store any fat.
Yeah.
And so it can become, like if you can store more fat in your legs, you can have very, very lean abs.
I think that's why I have.
Right.
Because I store a lot like in my lower back,
Yeah.
my back in general, and then thighs.
Right.
Like for my legs to get really cut, I have to get really lean, and
Really
then I got
lean.
like paper thin
Just-
skin around my abs, which is a
Right.
good thing. Like
That's good. No, it's actually better is that you can store a bit more fat in legs, because then you can have a chiseled 6-pack without having to get crazy lean. But like, you know, one of the best tests I've seen for do you have under 10% body fat is, do you have veins on the lower abs?
Yeah.
That's like the low ab veins that's like the best sign of like
and even
super lean.
I don't get that very often.
You don't?
No.
Oh, really?
No,
Yeah.
no. Like I can get to that level.
Yeah.
But it requires either a restriction of calories,
Right.
which I don't often do. It tends to be just like crazy amounts of walking
Yeah.
on back-to-back days. So usually when I travel, and I'm probably not eating as much as I usually eat, but I'm just like literally walking everywhere. And then after a couple of days, I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Then they pop out. That's
Yeah.
a good thing. I find in Europe, I tend to, when I go to Europe and I follow my schedule of the fasting and you know, my eating structure, I usually just lose a couple pounds a week in Europe.
Yeah.
It's not because I'm doing 18,000 steps a day.
What do you think of those the body composition machines that you stand on and then you hold the handle?
The handles?
Yeah, because everybody shows me those reports, and I'm like, I won't get too caught up in that.
Yeah, those ones are. I mean, so there's a scale that does like bioelectric impedance. So the scales are usually always bullshit. Any scale that measures your body fat, at least a few years ago, all it was doing was looking at your height and weight and guesstimating your body fat based on height and weight. Because I would play around with it. If you make your height taller, it automatically will put your body fat lower. It doesn't even measure your body fat. The one with the handles, the InBody, I think it's fairly accurate. I think it's like within 3-4%.
Yeah.
I've seen some people do it, and it's usually decently accurate. I mean, the body fat is really hard to nail down perfectly. I've done the underwater body fat. I've done the bod pod. When I did the bod pod, and I was pretty lean, not my leanest, it gave me 4.8%. So yeah, the bod pod,
you're barely alive.
the bod pod tends to underestimate. Like a lot of the NFL does the bod pod, and there's always some guy that's ripped that gets like 4% body fat, but it underestimates. And then the DEXAs, I like the DEXA because it can tell you where you gain muscle.
Yeah.
You know, did your arms get bigger? It could tell you your fat storage in your. So when I'm like
I had a lot more muscle on like one side of my leg.
Oh, wow.
I realized, I think this was from when I used to do athletics. Whenever I would take a jump off my leg to do the high jump or long jump,
you jump off your.
it was always the left leg I would bounce on.
And with all that training, it hasn't caught up fully.
Well, that's the thing, because I obviously am doing a lot of heavy weight with these compound movements, and I was getting a little bit of back pain, and I was like, I shouldn't really have this. It was like a subtle but consistent, annoying little bit of pain. And I went to do an x-ray, and my spine was not straight. So what they figured out was that every time I was taking a step, I was putting a little bit more of my body weight onto one side of my legs.
Oh, shit.
And then the same thing when I was lifting weights. So that meant that over time, me pushing more on one leg, I think is slightly tilted
Damn.
my spine. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. But I think there's no, they were saying this, nobody has, or a few people have
Perfect.
a perfectly symmetrical spine. Usually it's like off by a little bit.
Right.
But that's one thing that loads of people come to me about is the imbalance. So like, why is like one side bigger or stronger than the other? And that's either from, it could be from exercise selection, but it's usually down to like maybe a tightness on one side. So whether it's at the shoulder or the hip, if one side is tighter than the other, that means that you'll get slightly more range of motion on the looser side. And then you usually have a bit more muscle on that side. And then over time, you're putting more of your weight and more of the resistance on one side. So you're just further increasing this imbalance and this issue, which, yeah, if you don't address it, then you're just going to continue doing it and maybe injure yourself.
100%. It's also good. Yeah, it's good to just film your form.
Yeah.
Because you can catch things in a video you don't see when you're lifting. Like I know some people that maybe they play a lot of sports, their right hand's so much stronger. So when they do a bench press, they use more tricep on the right and the left one's flared. So they're doing like this kind of press.
Yeah.
Like you got a shield and, but yeah, that's important, especially if you're just going for aesthetic and balance, keeping those sides pretty even.
Yeah. All right, guys, quick pause here. I've got a question for you. How is your summer physique coming along? We're only a couple of months away before you will be gracing the beach, the pool. Are you in shape? Are you not in shape? Is there work to do? Most likely. If so, I have the tool for you, which is going to help you out massively. It's the Thirst app. This is something which I personally use myself when it comes to my training and my nutrition. I have all the programs in there which I use on a regular basis, and for those who are just looking to lose a bit of body fat. The same thing goes for women as well. A lot of people don't realize that I used to coach for a large chunk of my life. So all of my coaching experience has been put inside of this app. I want you to learn as much as possible about how to get yourself in shape. There's exclusive videos in there telling you how to do it, how to execute exercises properly, the foods which I eat, and a newly added nutrition section where you can track your meals and your daily macros. It is pretty much this pocket-sized version of myself, which you can carry around with you all day, every day. So if there's something which might interest you, which it definitely will do, I highly suggest check out links in the description, head over to the Thirst app, get it downloaded. You will not regret it. Now let's crack on with the episode. So if we go back to the early success that you had selling your programs, what happened after that? Did you continue to push the programs, or I think you've gone into supplements as well now? Yeah.
So when I did that Bruce Wayne video, I was 24. Business just skyrocketed. And, we had, I think by the time I was like 26, 27, we had 300,000 customers that bought one of my programs all over the world. 300,000. So it ripped. We had a massive influence. If I went to a gym, if I was walking on the street, even till this day, people would be like, oh, I did your Greek God. I did your warrior shred. So we had a massive influence. And then when I was 27, I had some partners, and then we started to work on really cool supplements. So we did a Keno Octane pre-workout, which I really liked because a lot of the pre-workouts I tried in my early 20s, I couldn't sleep, right? I couldn't sleep. You had a really good video about the pre-workouts. You get so jacked up, but you can't recover.
Yeah.
Right. So I made just more of a smooth, chill pre-workout, all natural ingredients. I'm not a huge beta-alanine guy because when you take beta-alanine fasted, you feel like you're crackhead. You're going to rip your skin off. And so, I used the ingredients that I really liked because there's benefits to L-citrulline, L-theanine. And so we put something together and it was just awesome. And then, every year we kind of worked on something new. And then, so now we have the supplement brand has really, really skyrocketed, and the Mojo's kind of been that at the core of it. It's been very cool because we've had thousands of guys use Mojo, and I've had people.
Was that taken from Austin Powers, the name?
Yeah. Well, you know what it was? It was like I wanted to do a testosterone support supplement, and a lot of the stuff on the market is like Testro 1000, Alpha this, and I'm like, look, it's a natural supplement. You're not 10xing your testosterone. Most guys, if you're at 500, you'll get up a couple hundred points. And so what are you really feeling? If you go from 500 testosterone to 700, you're going to get some benefits with gaining muscle, with losing fat, but you're not going to get massive because you increased your testosterone a couple hundred points. what you really regain is this like confidence. You feel this confidence. You feel this increased libido. You wake up, you feel this je ne sais quoi. And so really it was like the mojo, you're going to get better. You're going to have more tenacity in the gym, but like really you're just getting that mojo back. And I came up with mojo and I was like, damn, that's awesome.
That's
and
good,
yeah, we've had thousands of guys use it, take Bloodwork, and this stuff really works. I mean, I remember when I was researching into improving testosterone, a lot of the evidence-based community thought, okay, well, if someone's very low in testosterone, then taking zinc and magnesium can help increase it. But if someone already has healthy testosterone, they're at 580, they're at 680, then taking magnesium and Tonga Elite, it's not going to increase it. And then Andrew Huberman was doing a lot of cool content, and he was having a lot of people testing different things, and he found the opposite. He found, I know, you get 100, 200 point increase in Tonga Elite. And so I started playing with this stuff. I started having my clients take it, and it worked. I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, this is working better than I expected. And sometimes these were people that were already lifting weights. They were already eating well. They were already pretty lean. Because if someone is overweight, not working out, bad sleep, then obviously if you improve that, it's hard to attribute, well, what came from what, right? And so even myself, I did my testosterone test about 5 times through my 20s. The highest I ever had was 660, but usually it was like 600, 620. With bad sleep, my testosterone was 515. I did a blood test with Derek after 3 days in Miami, and I had very bad sleep. They were doing a lot of construction, and my sleep has to be so good. And so it went down about 100 points from bad sleep. And then now in my 30s with using this stuff in Mojo, I had a test at 840. So I had 840 total, which was pretty cool because 20s is technically when you're supposed to be the highest. So my testosterone is 200 points higher, and I'm in my 30s. And I've kept my training, my eating very similar. So you can actually get very good results with this stuff.
Why did you do the blood test with Derek?
So he put something out on social media talking about how to prove if someone's natural.
This is Derek More Plates.
Derek More Plates. He posted something on Instagram, and I think he was exposing someone, or he's like, "Hey, if someone actually wants to prove they're natural, they should do this." And I saw it in real time, and I just commented, would love to, And at the time, I was 30. I wasn't really getting most of the steroid accusations I got was actually when I was 24. But I said, there's still some sort of doubt. And I said, absolutely, let's do it. He DM'd me, and then I said, let's as soon as possible. And he sent me basically like whatever the form is and the clinic to go to. And I went to the clinic. They must have done like 12 vials of blood.
Fuck.
And I kind of wanted to do the test. I kind of want to wait a few days because I was not sleeping well, but it would have looked bad if I'm like, oh no, can we change the test?
Yeah, then you'd be like, let me get some shit out of my system.
I was like, I really wanted to get a good sleep, but I'm like, no, I just got to go. And I told him, hey man, I'm on 5 hours here. And he's like, yeah, your blood work will look worse, but if you're natural, you're natural. I'm like, great. So we did it, and then went through all the blood markers, and I actually learned something very, very cool. I actually learned something that was very valuable, where my body had elevated levels of homocysteine and very low folate. So I have a genetic, it's a genetic polymorphism where my body doesn't convert folic acid to folate very well. My family has it, my mom has it, and that can disrupt your mood. So it's linked to depression. Having elevated homocysteine is like not great for your health. Increase your risk of, later in life, if with combined with certain things, it's just not good. It can increase your risk of, heart disease and stuff. And so even like gum health, if you're low in folate, it's very important for gum health. It's just vital. And I found out I was deficient. And so I've been taking, and I would also find that sometimes I would just fall into these little dips of mood where I'd just feel a low level depression, right? That would kind of come. And so a lot nutrients can fix a lot.
Yeah.
Even vegans have higher rates of depression because most vegans are lacking B vitamins. They're lacking, zinc. They're not getting, like, steak is rich in creatine, carnitine, like eggs, choline. There's so many of these nutrients that are vital for your brain development, your mood, that vegans, unless you're just taking a ton of different supplements and blood tests and getting it dialed, you're just going to end up in a suboptimal state. So vegans have high levels of depression.
Yeah, even for me, I assumed that with everything that I was doing a few years ago, that Bloodwork would be perfect.
Yeah.
And then this is when I first started getting my blood work done with Bionic, who I'm now a partner of. This was in 2021, I think. I got the results back, and like there was a lot of things which were way off. Like either things were above optimal, and there was a lot of things
like vitamins and minerals.
Yeah, this was all the vitamins.
Yeah,
mostly things were above optimal. And there's a lot of things that were really below optimal, particularly copper. And I realized even though I was eating a relatively healthy diet, there was no organ meat anywhere.
Right,
and it kind of made sense because I mean I don't make food at home. I'm not going to go out and buy organ meat and prepare it. So one of the additions which I've made now on top of the customized supplements which Bionic give me is I have the organ meat on top of that in capsules.
Yeah,
so that's helped quite a lot.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. If you look at the hunter-gatherer diet, right? They would take advantage of the entire animal. They wouldn't just eat the delicious ribeyes and strip loins, you know. Yeah. So yeah, the organ stuff has got a rich amount of nutrients. So yeah, it's very interesting, you know, certain deficiencies that
How often are you getting your work done now? Blood work?
I'm doing it now, I think twice a year is probably good. So that's gonna be my plan. Maybe I'll go 3 times a year if I'm testing things, right? If I'm experimenting with different stuff, I might do it a bit more often. But once or twice a year, I think is great. And I'm right now pretty much almost everything is pretty optimized. So the blood work is really good. And then the sleep, man, the sleep is so powerful.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm kind of dialing in. You have you use the sleep tracker?
I've got a Whoop.
Whoop?
Yeah.
What do you know what your what your deep sleep and REM is?
The average is about 3 hours.
Of total.
Yeah.
Total
Most
deep and
of them
REM.
combined, yeah.
Yeah. So if you can get an hour and a half deep, hour and a half REM, that's really, really good.
Yeah.
But like,
unfortunately, over the past few weeks, my average sleep, which was just above 7, has now dipped to 6.5.
Right.
I think that's first of all the jet lag. Holy shit, that got me good the first couple of days. I remember when I was training with Christian in his gym. This was the day after I arrived, so it was around 4 p.m. But in Dubai time, it was like 2-3 a.m. So my body was like thinking it was 3 a.m., but I was doing a workout. So it took me like a week to balance things out a little bit, and then. More so, it's the environment, obviously, which you mentioned is the most important thing. Like, is it dark? Is it cool? I can't have bed sheets that are too thick because it traps all the heat.
You get
I
hot.
have an 8 sleep mattress.
Right, heard of
those. They hooked me up with one this was at some point last year. And I'd heard of it, but I was never like, I'm not going to go out my way to buy one because they're not cheap. But holy shit, like it's a game changer. Particularly, you know, if you're in the bed with someone else and they're the type of person that likes to hug onto you all night.
Wow.
Like that would be my worst nightmare. And I get the worst sleep ever.
Yeah, dude, I'm a psycho with temperature. I do like, I mean, my place in Miami, this air conditioning is the most powerful air conditioning I've ever had in my life. Okay, like this thing can go to 50. Now I put it to 58, and like when it's like 58, 59, 60, I'm asleep in 10 minutes. If I'm trying to sleep at like 66, it is torture to me. Some people think 66 is cold. That's hot. In Europe, it's hard to find a hotel that has good air conditioning.
And if they have it, it's like,
it's
like working overtime.
I've walked into hotels. I'm like, can you show me a room in here? I check the AC. This won't work. Lucas, let's go somewhere else. But
you have a girl come in the room and they're like, you're a fucking psychopath. Why is it so cold?
Me and my team, we go inspect hotels before we. But you know, one little tip for deep sleep. It sounds crazy, but there's research on this. Is that grounding. If you can put your feet on grass, sand, if you can ground, it actually improves the amount of deep sleep you can get. And deep sleep is when you produce the most testosterone, you build the most muscle. And so grounding can help lower cortisol. And when you get your stress levels down, you can get better deep sleep.
Is his name Paul? Is it
Paul Sedino?
Yeah.
Pauladino?
So I saw a video of his house he's building in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And I think he's linked his bed to like a copper wire.
I saw a copper wire into the ground. He's got that. Yeah. So you can create that setup on your bed with a grounding sheet. I like just putting my feet. If it's not feasible for everyone, But I like putting my feet on the grass and sand. It is great at lowering inflammation, lowering cortisol, and you feel it. Like you feel calm. Like if you take your feet off, take your shoes off, you walk in the sand, like it feels good. So there's research on you can increase deep sleep 9%, which is actually pretty significant. With grounding, you can also if you like get the room really dark, like if you're going to bed, a lot of people have like a TV on, they have some lights on, they have blinds and there's some street lights coming through. If you can either just get full blackout or put a mask on, your body will produce more deep sleep with that blackout environment. So it's sleep is, we all tend to have a couple little nutrients either we're deficient in, we're missing like copper. If you're eating high amounts of zinc, then it can, especially over like 40 milligrams a day, it can reduce copper absorption. So some of these things can become imbalanced, but the most powerful thing.
It's weird because it's like one of the most, it's kind of a boring thing to talk about, or a thing that everyone in the back of their mind knows, I should probably sleep more. Yet nobody really takes action.
Yeah, no one and it's funny for me, like apparently like 3 hours combined REM deep a night is good. If I get like 90 minutes of each, I actually feel like that felt like a shitty sleep to me. I need a lot.
Yeah.
I need almost like 3.5, 4 hohours combined. Like
yeah, so some days when I've had a great sleep, honestly, it feels like I've woken up and taken a limitless pill.
Yeah, and it feels like, dude, like the one thing I'll say about Europe is they have the best blackouts, and
in Spain,
in Spain these blackouts. So like, dude, I'll wake up and I'll feel like I'm reborn. I'll just feel like, wow, it's a new life. It's an amazing. Like it's not a good sign if you wake up and like having a coffee is your silver lining. Like you want to wake up, feel energetic before you even grab the coffee.
Yeah, I remember this was during the summer of COVID. I was living in Ibiza.
Yeah.
We were staying in this apartment where they had the blackout blinds.
Right.
And they had this amazing air conditioning, which was super cold but made no noise. And because there wasn't any parties going on because the clubs were closed,
right,
you didn't really hear anything happening outside, and there wasn't really anything to do.
Oh my God.
Everything was closing probably 1 a.m. So every night I was going to bed relatively early. And because of these blackout blinds, like I was waking up, like you'd wake up and you're like, what fucking time is it? And I would look at my phone, it'd be like 10, 11 a.m. in the morning. Like I would have like the best sleeps ever.
9-10 hours.
And then I didn't really have much else to do, but just eat healthy, go to the gym.
Yeah.
And that was when my physique was, I remember thinking, holy, like, why do I look so good? And that was because I was just consistently sleeping. Yeah, very, very good.
Sleep is that. I had a similar experience in Ibiza. I was in Barcelona. There was cars, street noise everywhere. There's a low level cortisol that happens when there's all this constant noise. And I went to Ibiza. I was in a quiet area, and I woke up and I felt so relaxed. I'm like, oh my God, I can feel the cortisol drop. But with sleep, there's research showing they had 2 groups of people losing fat, right? And one group was getting 5 hours of sleep a night. The other group was getting 7.5. And the group that got less sleep lost 40% more muscle. Mm-hmm. Everything else being equal. So meaning if you're getting less sleep, your ability to maintain muscle on a diet is compromised. Mm-hmm. So sleep is that important. Even it improves insulin sensitivity. So you're better able to partition nutrients and carbs to muscle tissue away from fat storage. Like sleeping, if you're not getting good sleep, you are expressing your genes in an inferior way. If you can get your sleep dialed to a high level, your ability to gain muscle, your ability to turn on, epigenetics, upregulate certain genes is improved. Mm-hmm. So it's like getting the sleep is massive. And we're on the online world, and you hear some of these like different gurus popping on, talking about sleeping 5 hours a night, 4 hours a night, and it's absolute garbage.
Yeah.
Like it is like sacrificing sleep is a losing proposition.
Yeah.
It's a losing game.
Speaking of the gurus, who are the guys or the girls that you look up to that you feel as though are giving out solid information?
Let me
obviously we covered Huberman, he's doing his thing.
Yeah, Andrew Huberman's got some cool stuff. I mean, there's actually in fitness there's a guy that's got really good content.
Mike Thurston.
Mike Thurston's solid. Yeah, Mike Thurston. The gurus. There's a fitness guy named Lift Run Bang who's got
Paul Carter.
Yeah, Paul Carter.
Yeah,
yeah.
He actually doesn't get his credit.
He doesn't,
but I think he probably needs to work on his delivery a bit.
Yeah, Oh yeah, no, he's actually like I've
He just wants to get into arguments with everyone.
Yeah,
But he's the one that actually got me to change the amount of volume I was doing.
right.
So he's a big proponent of doing the lower reps.
Yeah,
So he would always say there's no need to do more than 8 reps, which I think that's a bold statement to say, because I still feel like, well, sometimes a variety of rep ranges is necessary and can be beneficial. But I noted when I started implementing his style of training, where it was fewer working sets, reducing the rep ranges, my strength went up massively. And I noticed that the following few days after a session, I wouldn't be super sore. Like I would be ready to go and train again. So he definitely has a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, he's got some very, very good content. There's a lot of the evidence-based community in fitness is actually bullshit. They don't even know how to read the science and get lost in different rabbit holes. And no, he's pretty plugged into the real research. So no, he's good. In other areas of YouTube, I'm not even sure right now. I haven't been following too many people too closely. I like to watch Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor, who's been sort of like he's been known as the Bitcoin alchemist. And he's got a company Strategy now. I like to watch Michael Saylor videos. He's I find him very, very interesting. So I went down a whole like probably Bitcoin rabbit hole a couple years ago and was just learning a lot. And so that was kind of one of my go-to.
You put a fair bit of money into it.
Yeah. I put a lot into Bitcoin strategy. Yeah,
a long time ago, I assume.
Well, I started buying
enough ago.
Well, I started buying it at like 30K, 40K, and I bought some at 90K. I'm just buying. Yeah.
Do you feel as though you ever get tempted to stray off the path when you got to the point where you're making good money, you've built an audience, and then there's all these opportunities that come your way? Or are you able to kind of just stay focused on, the programs and the supplements?
Yeah, I mean, I've done lots of different investments over the years, and it takes a lot of discipline to be focused, right? There's always going to be opportunities, and I put money into like a restaurant, I put money into a film, I put money into anything you think of. I've tested, I did the experiments, and it's like, I mean, the best financial advice. I mean, look, the basic advice is go and buy the S&P 500, and it's hard to beat. You can play around with all these different private deals and stuff, and the index is good. But I'm on the sort of thesis is like, if you want to get pretty good returns, you do the SPY. If you want to go higher volatility and you want to go even harder, you go right to the Mag 7. And then if you just like risk, Bitcoin, and if you're just a complete nutball, you buy MicroStrategy, which is like hyper volatile. But I think Bitcoin and strategy is going to do very well.
What are some of the best and worst investments you made?
I mean, probably like restaurant film. That's pretty much like it can.
What do you mean by you've invested into a restaurant?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean by film?
Oh, like a independent film, right?
Really?
Like, yeah. I put some money into a film.
I assume this because you like.
I was into film, yeah. And it kind of like I was pretty excited, right, to like be involved in the film industry. But it's hard to like pick the film that's gonna really work, right? So
especially now, I feel like everyone's way more cautious about putting money into films.
For sure, yeah. And right now, interest rates are pretty high, but those definitely. Like you can lose everything, you can make money. You want to kind of avoid investments that can go to zero, right? So, no, I've done better. Just I've done well with Bitcoin.
What have you learned the most from starting a supplement company?
The supplement business is like, I mean, ultimately, like you got to have a good product, because the money from supplements comes not from going and getting new customers. It comes from repeat customers. So when you can make a really good formula that people buy and they want to get it every month, that's when you actually build like a profitable, valuable company. And so you got to create really good formulas, and you got to create great products that people love. And like, I have many I could go and launch different types of supplements, but I'm so careful at really putting something great together. We did a fat burner supplement. It took me really 2 years to really find the formulations that I found really helped. And then we're doing a sleep supplement, but that's been like, I've tested a ton of stuff for a long time and tested inositol, apigenin, and all these different things, 5-HTP. And so takes me a long time to put together a formula because I actually have to really love it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say that's really the key is it's getting people to buy your supplements is like the first part. That's the easy part. Getting them to keep buying it is the harder part, and that requires really good supplements.
So this is the fat burner one. I'm always curious to know more about the fat burner ones.
Yeah.
Like how are you actually formulating it to do what it says on the label?
Right. So I mean, there's really like the two main components of fat loss. One is increasing your metabolic rate, increasing thermogenesis. And so grains of paradise is a herb that has pretty solid research on actually increasing energy expenditure. So it can increase the amount of calories you burn every day at rest, which it's not going to make a big difference to the average person that's not tracking their calories. It's just too easy to eat too many calories, right? And it's too hard to burn energy. And so if you can burn, if you can increase your energy expenditure, but then you just are snacking at night, it doesn't get you anywhere. So you have to have your diet dialed. But one ingredient inside the shred formula that I also really, really like that kind of works in conjunction is glucomannan. So glucomannan, this is funny because I was looking at some of the top fat burning formulas about a year ago. I was looking into the ingredients, the research, and then I was looking into it was even actually I was talking to ChatGPT because I use ChatGPT, and I was going through these fat burners, and then I came across one that I hadn't seen anyone use, which is glucomannan. And that is probably the most powerful supplement for fat loss, bar none. It's a prebiotic fiber, so it feeds your gut bacteria, so it improves your gut health. And it is it absorbs water like nothing else. So it can hold 50 times its weight in water. And so when you take glucomannan, you drink water, it fills up your stomach. So when you eat, you get full more easily. And so it improves satiety. So that's one, like if they're pretty locked in, but they're having a hard time sticking to the cut, add in glucomannan and you can cut your calories 10-15%.
Yeah.
So if you find you're full on 2,500 calories, you could probably go down to 2,300, which makes cutting much easier.
Yeah. I struggle with that sometimes. I know that my body doesn't need more food, but there's something saying, hey, you either got this sweet craving that needs to be satisfied or you just need to eat more. And usually it's a case where, first of all, you're bored. Mm-hmm. The boredom leads to you just snacking unnecessarily. And second of all, I find that just having something a little bit sweet just takes the edge off.
Me too.
Like a flavored sparkling water.
Okay, nice.
So with like no calories, but the fizz and the bubbles expands a little bit in your stomach. And then if it's flavored, then that will take care of the sweet craving. And that, if I just have I could have a liter of that, I'm good. I feel like full.
Yeah, you know what? There's something there's something that is really powerful. Look, I'm kind of like, it's been my view that the gaining strength and muscle is the fun part. It's fun to lift heavy weights. It's fun to eat more food. Gaining muscle, for the most part, is actually not that hard. Like when you get to your genetic peak or whatever, then obviously it's like you're just maintaining. But like as you're gaining muscle, I find it actually it's very easy. You lift weights, you push heavy. Like you were a high level rugby player, so like people that had athletic backgrounds just know how to push hard, right? So gaining muscle and strength is actually very easy if you can push hard, you follow a program and you stick to it. The hard part is fat loss. It is hard to cut calories. It is hard to eat less. We evolved as hunter-gatherers having to go and look for food, trying to find calories. We couldn't get enough calories. Now we have food everywhere. It's very hard to restrict calories, especially when you're on the last 10 pounds. And so really it's like there's a discipline. When you start getting locked in on the diet, when you got your calorie deficit locked in, you feel this discipline and this control that very few people have. It's like fat loss is actually one of the hardest things to do if you think about it. Mm-hmm. If you travel, if you go to, I was even in London, Trafalgar Square, I was looking around, every single person had at least 30 pounds to lose. every single person. It is very rare that someone is 10% body fat.
Yeah.
It is extremely rare. And no one wants to be overweight. And so everyone wants to be lean, but such a small percentage of the population is, because it's really that hard. So when you get locked in, and sometimes the hardest part is actually mentally is the first couple weeks. It's getting locked in on your diet. It's hitting the fast. It's not snacking at night. Once you get locked in after the first 2-3 weeks, it's actually like your mind is dialed. It's actually very easy. So actually, I find that for me, like once I'm locked in. Once I'm locked in, it's like boom, fat loss is a breeze. But then you get relaxed. You're overeating. You're having the extra snack at night. It's hard to go from relaxed to like boom, we're back on the deficit.
I think a lot of people, including myself, will struggle a little bit more when they're in a relationship.
Right.
For me, I find that usually you will tend to eat out more, or you'll be watching films at home, and then, you'll be ordering some takeout. And it's often the case that they don't finish their meal. So I'm the guy that hoovers up the leftovers. So I'm always eating like a meal and a half.
Yeah.
So I'm consuming more calories than I need to. If they're not on the similar path that I'm on, and they're not, taking care of themselves and what they're consuming, it's a hell of a lot harder. If they want to go off and, hey, let's go get some ice cream, it's hard to say no.
Yeah, it's like a mirroring thing where, she's eating something. She makes, like, if you're about to put on a movie and she makes this amazing snack, it's right there. You kind of want to try it. So it is definitely a little bit harder.
Like, I'm not going to go out and, go get ice cream by myself. Like, I ain't that type of guy. But
if you guys want to get lean, break up with your girlfriend. I'm sorry. You know what? It's just these last 10 pounds. I can't do it with you. We gotta. I'll call you in a couple months.
It can be like it's probably the easiest to get in shape if you've just broken up with your partner.
Yeah, you lose your appetite.
Yeah, you're just on it. You just want to be the best version you can be.
What?
You're pissed off. You're angry.
You know what? Actually, probably a couple times throughout my YouTube career, when I just got crazy lean, usually it was like that last 3 pounds was just, I broke up with a girl. I had a little bit of anxiety. I lost my appetite, and then boom, I lost the last 3 pounds.
Yeah.
Most times, actually. So it can be a powerful tactic to cut the last 3 pounds.
Yeah, I have some guys come up to me and like, I feel down, depressed, I don't know what to do. I'm like, look, just embrace this feeling right now, this kind of negative emotion you're experiencing, and just convert it into having the best workouts you ever had. Go out and do some cardio and just be on point with your diet. Like, if there's anything you can do, you might as well try and look the best you can possibly look. And then your ex-partner is she'll still be watching.
Yeah.
She'll be keeping an eye to see whether or not you're like enjoying yourself and going out. And if she sees you killing it and looking the best you've ever looked, they'll probably go message you again.
Yeah. No, I've had a lot of people buy my programs and start my stuff after a breakup. It's like a motivation like nothing else for guys. And usually, like, the common story that I hear with these guys is that they completely lose the frame in their relationship. They make their girlfriend the primary focus of their life. Their goals, their career, their aspirations take a back seat, and it's the girl's always the first thing. And whenever you make your girl the primary focus of your life, you get punished for it.
Yeah.
Because a woman is not just dating you, she's dating your vision. What are you creating? What's the world you're building? And so if you just make your girl everything, and now now you're putting her in front of everything else, you're sacrificing your values, you're compromising who you are, they lose attraction. Yeah. And so I see this happen a lot with men, where they don't know how to maintain their goals in life as the primary thing. Love their girlfriend, treat her amazing, but hey, end of the day, you gotta make your priorities. You gotta stick to your priorities. And so the girlfriend just completely loses attraction. Then they get hurt, they get crushed, and then from that position they want to kind of build up.
Yeah, they were attracted to that single version of you.
Yeah.
So you have to try and maintain that, whilst obviously you're going to need to put some time aside and a little bit of effort into...
Yeah, it's a balance.
Establishing this healthy relationship. But yeah, like for me, career has always been number one. I think the moment that's going to change is when I have kids.
Right.
I think when I have kids,
then even more career.
Yeah.
I'm just joking.
Yeah, I think that's one thing which I've always, it's always been on the top of the list for me. And I have in the past either become too attached or, switched it around, and it's never worked out.
Yeah, women don't want you to make them the most important thing in their life. They can get the ick pretty easily if you're just always obsessed and focused on them. They get most attracted when you're going and doing things.
Yeah.
So you have to just focus on your goals nonstop. Even if they tell you, hey, I don't want you to hit the gym today. Stay in with me. Let's go to the pumpkin patch this weekend. Like, there's a time and a place, but like it's if you always are acquiescing to all these things and you're losing, your priorities, then eventually they lose attraction. So it's something very important to make, because it's a common thing with men in their 20s.
Yeah.
Common thing.
Speaking of dating, did you just go on Fresh and Fit?
I did Fresh and Fit yesterday. Yeah.
How was that?
I just did the money show. I didn't stay for the women's show after. But no, they're banned from YouTube, right? I think so.
Yeah.
I'm not. Actually, no. I think they're on YouTube. Maybe.
Okay.
They're banned on Instagram, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I was with Brandon Carter, so we got a steak and we went on to the pod. But no, he did the after hours show with the girls. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of that now with these individuals giving dating advice. And a lot of guys seem to share the message or thought process that women giving dating advice is usually a terrible idea.
Yeah, I've seen some women that have been able to do it, which can be hard, right? But I've seen some women that were able to do it very well and actually think like
a man.
Think like a man, yeah. Right? But a lot of men's dating advice is also,
it's too extreme.
It's too extreme. It's like the middle ground, right? Is usually kind of because some guys, they go from being overly simps, being, overly, obsessing over the girlfriend, being way too nice, being spineless, and then they want to go to like the asshole side. And it's like, that's not it either. So it's literally just be ambitious, have drive, go after your goals, and then have a great time. You can be nice, but just over investing your time and energy is unattractive.
What do you look for in a girl?
I like a girl that is intelligent, beautiful, very nurturing and caring, honest, good read of character. It's a girl I just can genuinely like relax and have good downtime with. For sure.
You keep it private.
I like to keep it private. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I put girlfriends on my vlogs and all this stuff, and I just find it is better to keep it private, and it is pressure. Like, people on YouTube could be ruthless, right?
Oh, yeah. If I ever have had a current or ex-partner show up on a video, I'm like, just don't look at the comments. But of course, if I say that, they're going to look at the comments.
Right.
So I just say, just ignore anything that they say.
I mean, I had my first kind of girlfriend when I was 23. I put her in a bunch of vlogs. She's on my Instagram, and even to this day, this is 10 years ago, people will ask me about them. Ask me to this day. It's been 10 years,
Yeah.
It's
I did that during COVID, and it was just all everybody was speaking about for that year. And it's like, it's there forever.
Right.
Which it could be a nice thing, but it's much better from my experience. You can film stuff and make those memories, but keep it for yourself.
I mean, Bradley Cooper had a really, really good quote. I forget exactly what it was, but if you have something beautiful, don't it is like, you've probably seen people that they get a girlfriend and they're just blasting her all over the stories and look how in love we are. And to me, it just feels fake. If your love is that strong, why do you have to nonstop post about it everywhere?
Yeah.
So it's. I think Bradley Cooper said, if you have something beautiful, like keep it private, because people like to ruin a beautiful thing. So just it's a little bit of privacy. I think is very good. But you have any plans for having kids soon?
Oh yeah, and what am I? I'm 34 now. I'll be 35 towards the end of this year.
Yeah.
So I feel like
We're like 1 year apart exactly. Yeah.
you
33.
You 33, yeah. So of course,
Yeah.
but it's just a matter of finding. I keep trying to wait and see if this perfect person is
Right.
going to come into my life. I feel like there's certainly been some that they've come, and I could have quite easily lived happily ever after with them. I think because I'm at a point now where I'm a good judge of character, and I
Right.
know like whether someone is good for me or not. But a lot of people will say, "Oh, when you meet them, you just know, like
Mm.
And I don't think I've met that person yet. So I think they will. I think they will come into my life at some point. And I do believe in. I'm a little bit spiritual, so I do believe like there's a time and a place, and it will just happen when it's kind of meant to happen. I don't think if you're just constantly trying to look for it, it will come to you. I think it sometimes comes when you just least expect it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be an old dad. That's
Right.
for sure.
Yeah. You know what? There's no such thing as an old dad now. You get your health dial, dude. You're going to be 55, you'll be feeling like you're 35.
Yeah. Well, that's,
I'm in, you know what? I have 2 beautiful nieces, and it's amazing. It's like such a incredible thing. So I see when I go back to Canada, I see my nieces, and no, it's amazing. And I'm excited to do that, but I'm in no rush. Even at 33, I still feel like I'm getting the comments on my Instagram, when are you having a kid? When do you have a baby? But like, I think it's an amazing thing to do. I'm a family of 5 kids. So I have 3 brothers, a sister, and absolutely, but I'm not in that crazy rush,
Yeah. I think for a lot of people, they should never feel pressurized into doing it, because the worst decision you can make is just being in a relationship because everybody around you told you, oh, you need to be in a relationship now and you need to have kids. Like that's one of my biggest fears, is being locked into some sort of a relationship or partnership that is just a complete disaster, but I can't escape it. I'm tied into it, whether there's kids involved or maybe there's like a marriage or something like that. Like I do not like. I see really successful guys that lose their rational thinking because they're overwhelmed or overcome by this feeling of like love. They're just blinded by it, and they don't think the way they would usually.
They lose their frame. They lose their I want to have kids when I'm like enthusiastic, because it is a lot of responsibility, and it is, and and I was kind of running my business in such a high capacity and just not traveling much, on the computer going. So like now, this last couple of years, I've been kind of doing a bit more traveling, going to Europe and stuff. And so like it's I think in a few years probably I'll be ready. But I did all my health markers. Everything is great, and you could be 45, you could be 50.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to wait that long, but there's not this crazy pressure right now.
Yeah.
I've never I almost could have had a couple kids by now. Could have had a few, but we've coulda.
I'm actually I'm surprised there's not been any very close encounters. Like this.
No, there has been. Yeah, there has been, but we're and you know what? Honestly, if I had a baby, I would be very, very happy.
Yeah.
I'd be, I would, at any moment, I'd be ready to support having a child.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was dating someone and they got pregnant, I would say absolutely, we're keeping it. I wouldn't, if I was in love with someone and she got pregnant, we're having a baby, non-negotiable.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's her choice, but I would say 100%, I'm ready to support you. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So I would, but I wouldn't try to have a baby right now.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
What is the priority right now then? Just the business?
Well, I mean, I feel like there's different chapters in one's life, and I've been able to really build a business, and be able to build freedom. Where if I want to run my business in Miami, if I want to go and do summers in Europe, I can craft my business kind of any way. And so I'm just really enjoying life and creating content. So I don't want to open up that next family chapter just yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say our priority right now is really just building a great company with my team, and kind of doing some of these experiences that I haven't quite done yet. Like I still haven't even been to Paris, haven't gone to France. So I want to just, there's a few little experiences I want to have. I probably want to do like a few weeks of surfing in Costa Rica. Like I want to kind of do these adventurous type stuff. It's kind of sad because I think a lot of guys, they get caught up into like this rat race where they're working Monday to Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, they just binge drink, they're drinking, and there's so much more to life. So I want to, there's a few things I want to kind of do. And then absolutely when I feel I'm kind of, in most of my life, I'm so logical. I'm like looking at things like a math equation, but then with more the deeper parts of life, it's more of like an emotional thing of feeling, you know? I wouldn't be like logically, now it makes sense to have a kid. It's just like when it feels kind of right, and it feels right with that person. And and if you're having a baby, like you're aligning yourself to this woman for, rest of your life, right? So you got to be careful that this is like getting, people put marriage on a pedestal, getting married, but like having a child is way bigger than getting married. And so if you're gonna have a child, you got to like really be like, hey, this person, we're doing this for life together. So it's hard to like, you got to really make sure you're with the right person. Absolutely. And they got a good head on their shoulders. And I mean, it can be tough out there. Like you see these, you see some, pretty, like the person you marry, if you pick the wrong person, it can, like the people in your life can make your life a lot harder.
Yeah.
So you got to be very careful, and there's some, definitely a lot of cautionary tales out there.
When you're traveling, are you doing most of the stuff solo? I feel like you're the type of guy that likes to go off and do his own thing.
Yeah.
Instead of constantly being surrounded by people. You're more of an introvert.
Yeah, I'm more introverted like that, where I just I like having some time to myself. I'm also more in my thoughts, and like I gravitate towards being a little more low key. But yeah, when I'm traveling, usually either completely solo, either with someone on my team, or I'm traveling with a girl. I haven't really been doing too many of the group stuff, but I will like travel and like meet some other entrepreneurs or meet some people in a city. But I do kind of more of this the Jason Bourne travel style, where I'm coming in just solo.
Yeah, there's not many people who I look at on social media where I think, oh yeah, they're like living a good life. They get it. They're doing what I would do. But you're one of them. Like you're going around. You're obviously successful with the businesses, and I'm like, yeah, respect that.
You know what? You've been doing the same. Like I see your stories, man. It's impressive how freaking ripped you stay, because it's hard to like having a routine is so important. But like when you're traveling, and then sometimes I'm traveling, I go to this hotel, the AC isn't strong, there's no blackouts, I'm like low sleep, and it's hard to like be traveling and have the routine dialed, and get in the right gym.
I don't know what this is. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older.
Yeah.
Or because I'm so happy with this routine I built for myself in Dubai. It's definitely harder for me to travel. Like even this year, I didn't go anywhere for the first 2 months.
Oh, sick.
And usually like, give me a couple of weeks and then I'll be going somewhere doing something. I'd even had like the opportunity to go on a ski trip, and I was like, ski trips are probably the absolute worst thing for me, like staying in condition.
Yeah.
Because the gyms suck. The food sucks. It's cold. It's just like I always come back from ski trip like really like bloated.
It's much harder.
So I think it is one of
those,
like
so many injuries happen skiing too.
Yeah. I used to in my 20s. I would always find the jumps and try and do these little tricks. But now I'm like,
dude,
no, I'll just meander peacefully down this red run or blue run.
Yeah, I had a brutal concussion the last time I was snowboarding like a year ago. No helmet on. And I was trying to find, when I was snowboarding this Whistler Mountain, I was trying to find this exit. I couldn't find this exit. I'm supposed to be wearing prescription glasses. I don't have any glasses on. And so I'm trying to read this sign. I'm like, what's this? And I finally like, road to Blackcomb. And so I rip a left turn. I'm coming down this hill, and there's like 10 guys sitting on the top of the hill. And I have to like swerve around, and I'm already losing control. And then I'm like, oh shit, they're moguls. And so I just had a massive wipeout landed on my head, and that was a bad concussion. So yeah, I mean, you got to be really safe if you're going to ski and snowboard. And that's you're 34, I'm 33. The number one thing I see where people lose their physique is from injuries.
Yeah,
it's always an injury. Yeah, with the heavy squats, or they're going wakeboarding and then they hurt their neck accident, arm. It's like, if you get an injury when you're 23, you can bounce back really well. If you have a bad injury when you're 39, 38, it's a much slower road to recovery.
Yeah. If there's anything knee related or ankle, that's like taking you out of the game of training legs. Same with upper body. If you have a bad shoulder injury, there's like, you can only really maybe do a bit of isolation exercises for biceps, triceps. Like any pushing and pulling is going to suck. And I've been there, because people ask me if I've ever had a really bad injury. And the only time I can remember having one that stood out was when I went to LA. I was doing the rings in Santa Monica.
Oh, was it elbow or something?
No, it was a rotator cuff.
Shit.
I was just like twisting around.
No.
At the time, I didn't feel it go, but the next day I couldn't lift my arm up.
Oof.
And that one stayed with me probably for a year. It was a year until I could really push myself with any kind of heavy pressing. So yeah, that was always a reminder after that point, just not to do any stupid stuff.
Yeah, I'm very careful because I've seen the case studies of guys that were in really good shape at 40, 42, injury, and it was so hard for them to get back to. So yeah, I try and skiing, you got to be really careful.
Oh. And the things, I used to get so much shit because I never wore a helmet.
Yeah, me too.
I grew up in a time where it was normal not to wear a helmet. Yeah. And then I didn't realize there was this wave of, okay, now everybody has to wear a helmet. But people they'd come to me aggressively and they'd be like, why are you not fucking wearing a helmet? This is like online. I'm like, look, it's my choice. If I injure myself, then I've only got myself to blame. But I'm not putting other people in any kind of danger because they're wearing a helmet. So if I go into
it's like during the pandemic, why aren't you wearing a mask?
Yeah.
We're outside, dude.
Yeah.
Look at the science. Just why are you, but the helmet, the thing about the helmet though is that the helmet should not give you this false sense of security, because some people they got helmet on and then it's just like they go nuts.
Backflip time.
Yeah, the helmet gives you protection, but it's not that much protection. If you have a bad fall and you have the helmet on, hit the snow, the brain's still rattling. It absorbs the first little bit of impact and the brain still rattles. So it's like a 25% reduction, you know? So it's helpful, but like even if you have the best helmet on, you still got to be pretty safe. I mean, it definitely is very good to wear, but you still have to be very safe. I mean, you know, even like you fall on your head with a helmet on, or like you still screw your neck up. So it's you got to be safe regardless.
Awesome. Right. Well, we'll wrap this up because it's time to train and we're getting kicked out of the studio.
Yeah.
So we're going to do some sort of upper body.
I would love to do some shoulders and arms, man. We got to do some arm lifts with you. Maybe a little shoulder to start.
Yeah, do some strength stuff as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. Where could people find you?
So I'm active every day on Instagram. That's at Greg O. Gallagher. And my website where all my products and stuff is kenobody.com, KINO body.com.
Awesome, man. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, dude.